Okay, so we begin with the last month. I expect that we'll do 4 weeks this month. We will probably not do the 29th because that's my birthday, and I don't think I'm going to do this on my birthday. Um, so, okay, so anyways, as I said in the email, the topics I'm going to go over tonight include uh, the question of building our website, the website for the project. I sort of want to get your all feedback on how you'd like to do it, what sort of environment you'd like to host it on, etc., etc. Um, we're going to do quite a bit around the topic of project management. The rest of this month is going to be filled with us doing group projects. Um, I feel like while I'm going to take the class time to walk everyone through what we're doing, I am my strong goal is to try to implicate all of you in in the process of sort of making all these things happen. So we're going to do that with project management software. I'm going to use some really crappy software now, not because I love it, but because it's free to use, and maybe it's good enough for what we need, which really is just sort of checklists and shared things. Obviously, one of the other projects that we do need to implement is software. The reason why we're going to do all this today in a sort of half-assed manner is because to get our group server up and running, I needed some hardware that is not delivered yet, and so I basically have to wait until that hardware is delivered, which should be early next week, to implement we'll call it the ATK server. Yeah, so my hope is that I'm going to implement the ATK server. I'm going to walk you all through the steps to implement that right now. Some of the takeaways that we're going to have by the end of this session will include a work time, and perhaps this has to wait a couple days. But before next week, I would like there to be a group work time where perhaps one person's hands are on the keyboard and multiple people are in the chat room. And specifically what's going to happen is that whoever's on the keyboard is going to implement, let's see here. Okay. Let me repeat what it is I'm going to say. I'm going to implement LXC on a machine that's going to live here locally, and that's not going to be the ATK machine. Later on this week, the ATK machine will live at the data center. When that happens, I would like to set up a work time for multiple people to work together to set up LXC on the ATK server without my guidance. Perhaps I'll be in the chat room, but I will not be paying that close of attention. I'll review that work during next week's session. And then the other thing that we'll do in time for next week's session is spin up a new server entirely for the use of a variety of projects, which includes the trouble ticket software, the ATK website, at least one of them, and then we'll start the process of setting up a mail server for next week. So, to review, I'm going to set up LXC as a task that you all can watch and that we can sort of talk through, and that you all can see see what's entailed. And then later on this week, you all are going to do it on the ATK server, or the server that represents the group that's shaking out of this training course. And then finally, for next week, we're going to review the LXK installation. We're going to use the LXC installation to spin up a machine that's going to serve our purposes, and we're going to talk a little bit about management. And overarching all of these tasks is going to be a series of projects that I'm now going to start to build. You all can watch it happen. Okay, so this is a project, piece of software called Web2 Project. It lives at openguild.net/project. I'm going to create accounts for everybody. What is it? It's password change. Okay. I'm going to create users for everybody here, and I'm going to IM you your password. We'll try. Sorry, this is very boring. Creation of accounts. But you see that this is sort of some of the shit that you just got to do. Hubris. And this will be useful for all of you because you'll get to see a little bit about this will be a nice hub to map usernames to email addresses, and when we need to sort of create accounts and whatnot for other uses, we can use this as a sort of template. At least, whatever. Shaka bra. And obviously all these email addresses we're going to set up in a later week. Okay, so we can now see that there's a variety of users here, all of which are currently in the, and I'll make sure that everybody gets their password closer to the end of the session. Okay, so now let's talk about projects. So ATK server build, that's the name of a project. Let's look at some of the tasks. There are no tasks currently, so let's do a new task. Install LXC. So if we take a look at the project, we definitely want this by by the 7th. Okay, so that gives you a sense as to what a task looks like. And now I'm going to install LXC on the new, or on a new server that has nothing else on it. Huh. So the first thing I do before I even start installing things is I make sure that the system is up to date. Before we dig too deeply, let's take a look a little bit at this system. So it's a Xeon. 3.2 gigs. Looks like there's just 2 gigs of RAM in here, so we'll want to change that at some point. I probably have some loose RAM downstairs. So back to the memory, sorry, the processor. This information is actually useful. It tells you some of the flexibility, some of the things that the CPU can do. We're looking for what virtualization stuff it can do. SSE2, that's relevant. VMX is relevant. These are all things you can look up, but obviously everything you can look up. Some of these are actually by date, which is kind of cute. So for instance, FPU, floating point unit. It used to be that you had to add those on. I'm old enough to have existed in a world where you had to add a floating point processor. Anyways, this is all looks pretty good. I think that we'll be able to do everything we want to on this machine. A Xeon 4-core machine tells us, what we're doing here. You can also see that it's 4-core there. Obviously, nothing's happening. Okay. Okay. Sudo aptitude. Okay, so what we just saw there is LXC is installed. Oh, this is a good page for people to read. So what I'm going to try to do here while we're together is I'm going to install on this machine an Ubuntu server. So just to give you a little bit of context, we're looking at a machine that's at .101. So if we ping If we ping 102, we see that there's nothing there. So what we're going to do is we're going to install an Ubuntu machine at 102, and we're going to make sure that it runs Apache, and we're going to demonstrate that we can browse to it. For instance, here at 192.168.102. Obviously, it's going to come up with nothing. But for instance, right now, if we go to 101, we get nothing quickly. So that's all it takes to get Apache running. 102 obviously has nothing running because it's not even pingable. Right, as we can see there. Now we're going to use LXC to spin up a server at 102, and right now I'm learning how to do that. So. Wow. Well, this has me. Oh, there we go. Huh. Okay, well, that's disconcerting. Uh, huh. Okay, this has me a little concerned. Ah, okay. So what I'm discovering here is something about this machine, which I've not taken a look at yet. Ooh, that's not good. Huh. Okay. Okay, I'm going to dig into that later on. We're okay for now, creating the profile. So just so y'all see what I'm looking at, I know that this machine has two 3 terabyte drives in it, and so I want to know where the space is and sort of where the just where the space is. So that said, these two 3 terabyte drives are supposed to be partitioned are supposed to be a soft RAID. So in other words, a RAID that that has been created by the operating system rather than that has been created by a piece of hardware beneath the operating system. So I'm trying to sort of get a sense as to where all the lost disk space is. Obviously, right here it says available 83 gigs out of an available, this is 100 gigs out of an available 3,000 or something. So so I just want to know where that is and how we can get access to it. And it's been a long time since I've sort of played around with software RAID, and so it's just not coming to me right away through FDisk, which FDisk is a tool that you use to sort of learn about your about where your partitions are. So as an example, so just to show you what I do know, if I do if I look in the physical hard drives, is that there's two hard drives connected here, SDA and SDB. Each hard drive has 3 partitions on it, 1, 2, and 3. You can see that there. Now, what I don't know is what's the logical name of the partition that has been created by the software RAID. And I would love to be able to FDisk that partition, because then I can see, let's just say, for instance, it's G, which I suspect it's G, but it could be R, as you can see there. But if it's G, then hypothetically I could say but I think that FDisk might not work correctly for a software RAID. I think you have to use gparted as your tool. So let's just man gpart, just since. Whoa. Okay. So gparted is the GUI tool to do Linux partitioning. Normally I don't use it, but it mentioned it in the output earlier. Actually, let's see if I can scroll to it. Parted. Okay, let's look at parted. What? So there you go. In GUI partition table format, GUID partition table format, GPD. Use GNU parted. Huh. Let's just see. Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay, so this gives us a little better information. So we see that disk SDA is 3 terabytes in size, and SDB is 3 terabytes in size. And here we go. MD is the name of our software RAID. And we have MD1, which is the 100 gigs that we're looking at. So let's take a look at this and where this lives. Interesting. Wait a second. That's not the rest of it. That's just a 8 gigs of swap space. It's nothing special. So it looks like what we want to do at some point soon is create a 290 2.9 terabyte MD2 is probably what it would be called. There's MD0, there's MD1, but create an MD2 that has the remainder of our hard drive space. Okay, so sorry for all that. I hope that that made some sense as to what was going on. All I'm really doing here, and the whole troubleshooting that's happening, is I'm just trying to understand what's going on this machine, because it's a brand new machine to me. It was set up while I was gone, or it was set up by somebody else. And that's useful for all of you all to understand the tools I'm using here, because a lot of the times you may be introduced to a machine that's new to you, and understanding sort of whether it performs to the specifications that you anticipated it performing to obviously determines a lot about, you know, expectations and disappointment and all the rest. Okay, so back to our project, which is to install an Ubuntu onto this. What the fuck? Okay, so now we have a problem, because it appears that the person that installed the system did not install it with a mechanism called CD-ROM rather than net install, and so let's see if we can work around this. There we go. Okay, so as you may have understood what I was doing, so what happened was the person who installed the system inadvertently associated the CD-ROM as being one of the ways in which one would pull like the first location where packages would be stored. So we've talked about this, I think, in the context of network stack. So like if I ping yahoo.com, the first place that that ping looks to find where yahoo.com exists is in a file called etc hosts. And then it searches for a local DNS server if I'm running one, and then it looks for the DNS server that I provide in the etcresolve.conf file, and then it leaves my system and starts to look outside of my system for where yahoo.com may resolve. Similarly, what's happening here in the case of looking for a source, or in this case a D package, is that the first place that it's looking is in a file called etc/apt/sources.list. So, for instance, right here. So the first two locations where it looks is literally a CD-ROM So I removed the CD-ROM. I reran the apt-get update, which basically removes the sources list. It rereads the sources list, sees that the CD-ROM is no longer there. Then I attempted to reinstall. It says some things here about missing firmware. That could be a problem because that might say that we can't run this well, let's just take a look. It might mean that our processor on this machine is too old to run what we're trying to run. That would be sad for all of us. But let's double check. TGON 3 cards. Probably a card in this case means a graphics card. Oh, maybe it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm not freaking out. Okay, so now we're going to try again to okay. Create LXC template. I'm looking for an easy way to install this template. It's probably a different apt-get source. Okay, but I'm not going to do that right now. I believe that there's a very easy way to do this, and I just want to make sure to find it. I already had the Ubuntu template ready to go. Well, fuck you. Okay, this is actually pretty good. Nice. Okay. Okay, let's see what happens. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't believe there isn't something a bit more out of magic than this. Hmm. Obviously, this is why we want to, why you wanted to watch me do this before you all did it together, so that you can see the sort of problems that we run into. KVM Intel. Okay, this might be a problem. This error right here is similar to the error that we got before, which leads me to believe that we might have an issue with the hardware being too old. Might not matter that much because of the LXC might not rely on it quite so much. We'll see. Well, I guess some of the things that are happening here that look good. Um, I'm just going through the instructions in this man page here. Uh, Obviously, because we're running Debian as a um, using the Debian LXC page is very useful. Um, you can see here that it's saying that there's some issues in running um, Debian on Wheezy, which is what we're currently running, which you can tell right here. Sorry. So if you cat etc Debian version at 7.5, my guess is that we probably resolve some of these issues, but it's sort of worth checking out. Per these instructions, I ran the XLC check config, which came up with an error right here. I then made these changes to where I mounted the C group, reran it, and it came up all green. So we currently look pretty good on the XLC check config. The next thing it says here, oh, and look at that. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, but this obviously isn't Ubuntu, it's Debian. So the next step is we're going to see if it's just as easy to do it with Ubuntu. Just because obviously running multiple OSs on a parent OS is the goal. I prefer to run everything on Debian it's sort of a religious argument. There's an argument to start running everything on Ubuntu because it's supported by a company that benefits from us running on it. My only concern with doing that is that, similar to Red Hat, and this is a sort of big political question, but I used to be a partisan to Red Hat, and then Red Hat made a philosophical change where one of the consequences was, unless you pirated it somehow, you you had to pay a licensing fee per install. So that felt pretty poopy to me, and that's when I changed to Debian. And Debian, by definition, will never have that sort of like corporate encumbrance. That's the upside to Debian. The downside to Debian is that it moves slowly. It moves based on the needs and desires of a bunch of grumpy people, and it's a sort of politically charged context. So the fix to Debian's issues was Ubuntu, which basically up till now has seemed like a very friendly company, having a difficult time surviving. Sorry, one second. Etc. etc. So up till now, Ubuntu has not made any gesture towards a similar licensing fee, and they've fixed some of the problems with running Debian. Not the least of which is that their support forums are very friendly compared to Debian support forums. So I say all that to say that Ubuntu can be a correct solution. I will probably stick with Debian for the foreseeable future, and yeah, so I'll probably stick with Debian. Is the short answer. The long answer is that Ubuntu is hypothetically a valid solution, but yeah. Okay, so. Okay, and I'm just going to run the same thing, see what happens. Okay, so that's interesting. So it was willing to create a Debian because we're on a Debian parent, but it wasn't willing to do it for Ubuntu. So. Hmm. So, kind of annoying. It's not letting us do what we want easily. So I think that what I want to do for now is just get this VM up and running so we can demonstrate what that looks like, and then go from there. Okay, so that's interesting. So the first thing is, how in the hell do I get out of a how to escape LXC screen? Control AQ. Nope. Hmm. Nope. Hmm. Okay, well, I don't care that much, so I'm going to spin up a new. Not working. Hmm. No VI? What the hell? Where's VI located? Is it bin? Wow. There's no VI in this install. This is crazy. Okay. What's up, assumptions? Okay, so something weird is happening here that I'm not understanding because I think that I just shut down this machine. Yep, and I did. No idea. So it means that a pretty big assumption here was that when I went into my VM, yeah, so some assumption was very wrong here. And that's strange. Okay. But let's at least let's not worry about this right now. But obviously, we understand that we have some problems to solve here. I'll email you all in a few days about what's exactly going on with that. With the remainder of our time, though, I do want to go back to the projects, creating projects, and I want to talk to you all about who wants to take responsibility for creating a sort of a front page for the LXC, sorry, for the ATK collective website. So I'm going to create the project right now. And remember that we have 3 websites that we'll build over time. Okay. So, what kind of feedback does Enoch it can be static. And if possible, let's have something at least that we can look at and talk about by next week. And I feel like if you want to add tasks to this, feel free to do that, Enoch, and have other people, you know. I'm now passing out people's username and password information to get onto the projects. page. Okay, and so while we've had a failure on the front of building an XKC image, probably I will make sure that it works on the new server, which should have newer hardware than what we're currently running. And okay, well, let me double check that we're not being. Obviously, one of the big things I'm looking forward to for any of you who are a regular user of my services, you'll notice that while I was away on tour, it went down a bit more frequently than it would when I was at the computer all the time. So obviously one of my big tasks is going to be moving off services that I can to the ATK server, and then also learning or setting up a reverse proxy on the main production server, because I feel like I'll have a lot more granular control over connection status when that's in play. Let's see what's happening. Oh. Actually, I'll show you all a little bit about what that looks like. So like right now at this very second, we're getting 20 connections from this IP address. Suspicious IP address. 13 from this IP address. So, anyways. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do today. Thank you very much for coming back. Obviously, we're a lot smaller than we were before, but my hope is that this month we get a lot done on the level of getting this new server up and running and start to coordinate our efforts. Next week, we're going to make sure that we have some more meaningful things to show for it, and my hope is that some emails start to pass over the list regarding the ATK website, and then I will send emails as soon as I have the new server in place, which my guess will be that it will be Tuesday night. Have a good day.